Welcome everyone to the last installment of our Career Chat evenings. Tonight we're talking about all things engineering. I won't be so much because I'm not an engineer by trade, but we have some fabulous panelists who will be talking about engineering. My name is Karen and I'm the industry partner for engineering and actuarial studies. I'm also joined by Kay Carey, who is the head of the COLT program and industry partner for our business streams. I will apologize in advance for two things. I am a hand talker, so you might see my hands pop up here and there. And my office is also very good at saving electricity. So the light may pop off at some point. So you might see me jumping up and down. Like I said, we do have some panelists for tonight, so I'll talk about them in a second, but just in terms of I guess things to be aware of. So similar to the other sessions we've had this week, we had business on Tuesday and technology yesterday. These sessions will be recorded. The links for all three sessions will be sent to everyone who's registered and to our careers advisors, so no need to furiously jot down notes. The agenda for today, so we'll be running for about an hour, although we may run a bit over. We'll be going through sort of key things to remember and to consider when choosing your career, what engineering at UNSW looks like, including a quick overview of some of the areas of specialization where we've recently had co-op sponsorship. I won't spend too much time here and let the engineers on the panel do the talking, and also leave as much time as possible for Q&A. Tonight, you'll hear from Sarah Mayleys from RES Australia, who's one of our new sponsor companies. And you'll also hear from two fifth and final year COP scholars. We have Claire Friedman, who's studying Mechatronics engineering, and Elise Elkington, who's studying chemical engineering. I'll then provide a brief overview of the COP program, and then, like I said, we'll have some time for Q&A. So let's get into it. So you're probably at a point in your life where it's good to start thinking about what you want to do as a career. Taking this first step can definitely be very confusing or overwhelming. And I remember feeling all of these feelings plus many more when I was in your shoes. So first things first, like making any big decision or action, take a deep breath, shake it out if you need, and then try not to stress. Some key things to remember about careers and what I've also learned from my own journey so far is 1, do your research. Figure out what's involved in a particular job, a degree or industry that involves, talking to people, learn about how they got to where they are, what are the skills that they think are important to succeed. But also, I think when it comes to careers, it's important to remember that there's no right or wrong. Developing a career takes, time. You don't have to have all the answers right now. And just remember to do what's best for you and not anyone else. And I guess there's also the last thing that's also important is that when it comes to choosing a career destination, there are always multiple ways to get there. When you look around at everyone's careers, there's rarely a linear line of progression. Think about how to best prepare yourself for the next step you're taking, but also remember that destination can also change. Whoop, scrolling too quickly, getting ahead of myself there. So where to next? So you're probably wondering, where do I start or what should I even consider? Remember that you don't have to have everything figured out now. You just need to figure out where you want to launch from. So the things to consider or questions to ask yourself when choosing a career or the next step is your skills and talents. So what do you do well? What are some of the things that you're naturally good at, or what have you worked at being good at? There may be other talents or skills that you have, but you don't even know yet. So definitely be curious and give things a go. What are your values? So what's important to you? Is it doing a wide range of work, or are you happy doing things that are a bit more repetitive? Do you like being analytical, or do you like being more creative? It's important to understand your own values to then figure out whether they align with the values of the company that you'll be working for. Deanne Stewart, who's the CEO of Aware Super and a Marketing 89 Co-op alumnus, recently gave our actuarial students some fabulous advice. Choose the company, not the role. Another key consideration is also your interests. So what are you passionate about? not what your parents, your siblings, your friends, or anyone else is passionate about, but you. You are the one that's going to be doing the degree, the career, or the job, not them. So try and find out what interests you. If you're not sure, ask yourself, what things are you drawn to, or take time to figure out? Don't be afraid of trial and error. Figuring out whether something is for you is important, but also figuring out whether something isn't for you is equally as important. The last thing is also opportunity. What is available around you? What kind of influences can you draw upon? Who can you talk to? How can you get more information? Did you meet someone recently who inspired you, or read something that resonated with you? Be open to the opportunities around you, but also don't feel like you need to jump on the first thing that comes your way. These are all important questions to ask yourself at future points in your career. Are they still the same? Have they changed? And remember to keep reflecting. It's something that we try to instill in our co-op scholars as well. So, once you've asked yourself all of these questions, you'll have a lot of information to work with, which might be a bit scary, but that's also okay. So where to from here? You'll need to find out more information, and the best way to do that is to ask lots of questions. Lean on your network, talk to people about their experiences and the lessons they've learned along the way. Do they have any contacts that could help you with where you want to go? But also get some life experience and get involved, whether that's joining a sports team, volunteering your time for a community group, applying for casual work, and just, trying to get as much life experience and some skills is important. Yes, we say that study is important, but that shouldn't be the single focus, and it won't do you any favors in the long run. There's a big emphasis on companies on well-rounded employees who can balance commitments, but who also have a wide range of skills, interests, and experiences. It's not just about whether you can do the job well, but who you are as a person and an individual. A variety of activities also looks great on applications. It'll provide an ample supply of stories and examples for you to showcase your skills and your interests. Also seek out opportunities, be proactive and go for them. It's one of the reflection points that we get from a lot of scholars after their first placements. They say, I wish I did more of this, or I wish I spoke to more people. So search for people you can meet and build connections with. Learn new things to broaden your knowledge and to gain new skills. But again, don't panic. You have lots of time and don't need to have all the answers now. You are starting this journey early and may gain some advantages as a result. New opportunities might come up, you might change your mind or direction, and that's okay. It's normal, in fact. Take it from someone who's changed companies a few times and also industries. You don't need to make one ultimate career decision. Remember, it's a journey. So for some of you, you may have already figured out that engineering is for you, and better yet, that engineering at UNSW is for you. But for those who haven't decided or still aren't too sure, engineering is an occupation that's extremely wide-reaching. It is a broad field that offers exciting career opportunities where you get to be creative, solve problems, and explore how things work every day. So how can you start deciding if engineering is for you? If you're curious, constantly questioning the way things work, if you find yourself taking things apart and putting them back together, and enjoying problem solving in general, then engineering could definitely be for you. So the next question, why engineering at UNSW? On the screen, you'll not only see that UNSW engineering overachieving across these three rankings, but you'll also get to see photos of some of our current engineering scholars on placement, including Claire and Elise, who will be speaking tonight. But just to add a few extra points in there, UNSW has one of Australia's top engineering faculties with a strong international reputation and industry connections. It's at the forefront of education, research, and innovation. The faculty combines the world's best facilities and innovative research with an exciting and connected education experience. All of the engineering degree programs have a strong emphasis on design and problem solving, So from day one, you'll be involved in hands-on projects, you'll get to collaborate with other students and gain relevant skills to the industry. There are lots and types of engineering, so it may be difficult for you at this stage to know where to start. I would encourage you to do lots of research to find a degree that suits you best, your interests, your passions, your values, and things you want to pursue later in life. I've included a quick overview here of just some of the specializations in engineering where we've had recent COP scholarships in, but definitely do your research and have a look on the UNSW website. We'll send this key slide with the information to you after the session, but as an example, chemical engineering, it's looking at where you design, create, and optimize the systems and equipment used in chemical, industrial, biological, and environmental processes. You have your mechanical engineering, so mechanical engineers develop solutions to help improve mechanical process and products, and all the way through to renewable energy engineering. Not only this, but you also get to learn all of this whilst also doing industry placements that are relevant to what you're learning if you come through the co-op program. So that's everything from me. I'm not too sure whether I spoke at 1.5 speed, but I'm sure Kay will tell me at the end of this. I will now pass it over to our panelists. So first off, you'll get to hear from Sarah, who has kindly volunteered her time tonight. She is a technical manager at RES Australia, like I said, who's one of our new sponsor companies. And then we'll hear from Claire Freeman and Elise. So I'll now pass on to Sarah.
Hello, thank you very much. First of all, I have to excuse the fact that I'm in a hoodie because my flat is probably even colder than your office. So I was sat there thinking, oh, I'm so underdressed, but I'm so cold. But yeah, nice to speak to you all. And I hope I can sort of encourage you on your engineering journey. And I'll just talk a little bit about how I got into engineering and RES and what RES do. So RES stands for Renewable Energy Systems. So we're a renewable energy developer. We find large utility scale. So that's the sort of big solar farms or big wind farms that you see when you drive into the country. And that's, we will find the land, we talk to the landowners and the community. We design the solar or wind farm, and then we organize, we sort of arrange all of the things that you have to arrange, so planning permission, landowner contracts, someone to build it, PPA, which is power purchase agreement, so that we can sell the electricity back to the national grid. So and we package that all up, and then we find an investor to buy the site from us. So that's our business model, and that's the overview. But we have many different departments within RES, and so we have the development department, and they are the people that they're sort of project managers, so they have an oversight on everything that's going on with the project, and they will pull in services from my team, which are the technical team, or the engineering teams, another team, and the commercial team work out the finances and also the strategy of the company. We've got an accounts team, HR team, obviously, and all of those. So there's quite a lot of disciplines that you can get involved with, as with any company. We're the largest independent renewable energy company in the world, so there's a lot of scope for lots of different roles at RES. But I'm in the technical team, and how I got into it was actually just from a young age. I just really found renewable energy fascinating. It was 18 years ago that I started working for RES, but before that I had an interest just because I got taken by my parents to this renewable energy centre, it was called, and at that time it was really a very new technology, and I just found it quite amazing that you could create something out of sort of nothing, in a way, like sort of harness the wind, all these invisible elements, and create electricity from it. So I had that insight and that interest from there. Then university, I chose to do physics. I studied physics. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't love the degree. I started loving it. And towards the end, I found that physics was a little bit beyond what I thought physics was. So all the things that I thought at school I was really interested in physics became really, really tough, and I wasn't that interested. So I signed up for a master's degree. I dropped down to a bachelor because I had decided that I really, really just wanted to do renewable energy. So I then left university with my bachelor in physics. I was just trying to find any job just to fund, because I wanted to go traveling. I got in touch with RES because I thought, well, it'd be good to at least see if I could get a relevant job in a renewable energy company. And actually, they had an internship going. So that worked perfectly. I started there. My first job was counting birds moving through grids on a wind farm to make sure that we weren't putting turbines in the wrong place, so that we'd end up killing the birds. So it was an odd start, but actually we have much better, more sophisticated things now, software to do that for us. So it wouldn't be some little intern sort of counting numbers, but it was a good introduction to the working environment and what they do at RES. And I very much agree that it can just be a case of getting into a company, not worrying so much at the beginning of your career about exactly what you're going to do, because you don't know what there is until you've done it. And once you're in a company, you can see what other people are doing. There's lots of opportunities to move around, especially I know at RES we're very proactive about keeping people and keeping people's interest. And if people show an interest in another department, we'll try and sort of give them access to that, see what it's like and things. So that's where I started. I then actually loved it so much I stayed, and I also then decided that I was going to do a master's, and RES sponsored me to do a master's in renewable energy technology. So I did that. I eventually went traveling sort of years later. I just took 6 months off, and so I fulfilled that dream as well. But now 18 years later, I'm still at RES, but I've moved from the UK to Japan, and then now I'm in Australia, doing various things. I've been involved in the wind industry, then solar, battery storage. Had a bit of time in sustainable development of buildings, which RES don't do anymore, but we did at the time. So it's been a sort of quite a fun journey, always something interesting to do, and something new, and something interesting to consider. Got a great team. We work very much together as a sort of little group, and it's somebody asked me today, like, what do I enjoy about my job? And it's that problem solving together, sort of collaboration, a meeting of minds that are, some are much greater than mine, some think differently from me, and you really you can pull all those resources together and come up with great solutions. So it's always inspirational, actually, going to work and meeting people at work. And we've just had two new graduates, but one of them was from University of New South Wales, just started with us this week, and seemingly so far loving it. So that's been really great. I think, does anybody have any questions, or have I talked a long time?
Thanks, Sarah. I think the Q&A is still looking a little bare, so if anyone does have questions, please put them through and we will direct them to the correct people afterwards. Maybe, Sarah, I might put you on the spot before we do jump into Q&A. I guess, what's one piece of advice that you would give to the sort of students, year 11 and 12 students on the call tonight?
Okay, so I think I'd like to reiterate, don't panic too much about, or worry too much about getting exactly the right career established right now and the right degree. And you know, think about, oh gosh, what I'm going to be doing in 40 years time if I don't make the right decision now, because life doesn't happen like that. You can change your whole career at any age, actually, and I know a few friends that have done that, but equally it's a step-by-step process. Like your whole life is there to live, and changes happen, and actually it's fun doing different things. So your degree, I would say, in my mind, it's very important to do a good degree. So do something you enjoy, because then you'll get a good result, and that will look a lot better on your CV than you've tried something that you didn't really enjoy, you didn't focus on, and therefore you didn't do very well, and then you come out of university, you don't really know what you want to do. And because for us, like if I look across my team, we've all got different degrees. They're all in science, or science or engineering. Sort of, we've got a lot of mechanical engineers, we've got electrical engineers, we've got scientists, but it doesn't really, once you get into a career, you'll get trained on the job. So it doesn't matter exactly what you've done. It matters that you've got a good background and a solid sort of understanding of how an engineering mind works, or a science mind works. So yeah, if you are interested in going to that field, I wouldn't worry too much about your exact degree, but do certainly consider an engineering or science degree, but do something that you enjoy is the most important thing.
Great, thanks so much, Sarah. We will now move on to Claire Friedman, who is our Mechatronics 2019 Co-op Scholar.
Hi, so thanks all. Exciting to see so many on the call, and thanks, Sarah, for sharing your perspective. So I, as has been mentioned, am a Co-op Scholar in my final year, and that means that I've done 3 co-op placements. So I've worked at Lion, Weir, and again at Lion, but in a different part of the business. And then I'm doing my thesis currently with an industry partner, which is also through the co-op program. And so that means I've had experience for 3 different companies in the last 5 years that I've been doing my degree. And this has really meant that I've been able to get an understanding as to what type of work I enjoy, what type of teams I enjoy, and what opportunities there are next. So I can really recommend and endorse the co-op program for getting you career ready. I guess just taking a step back though, and thinking about why I chose Mechatronics in the first place. For me, that's quite a personal question, as it probably is for most, as to where you want to go with your career. I myself looked into, similar to what Karen was saying, the things that I value and that are important to me, the skills that I have, and as someone who is a Christian, I prayed about it as well. So looking at what was next, that was sort of how I ended up looking at all the options that I could do from the subjects that I was interested in, and then going forward from there. I also went to some camps and just got a bit of a feel from universities about what options were out there. I know there's lots of universities that run high school camps to give people a bit of a taster. So I was at a UNSW Women in Engineering camp, and this allowed me the opportunity to explore lots of different fields of engineering before I had to make a decision on which one to choose. The reason I chose Mechatronics is because I like to call it the indecisive engineer's degree. It doesn't lock you into anything and gives you the ability to have a lot of variety. I also think it's a good degree if you're happy to put in the extra effort to connect the dots and build your own skills. So if it's something you haven't heard of before, it combines electrical, mechanical, and software, and allows you to have a range of skills across that area. And then, yeah, I guess I can sort of share some of the highlights. You've obviously got the places that I did placements at. For me, that meant that I wasn't just sitting at a company twiddling my thumbs because I haven't graduated my degree yet. And that's something that I can really recommend if you get involved with the co-op program. When you do your work placements, you're going to get to do actual work that engineers would be doing in that company. So when I worked in the controls and automation team at Lion, that was in a manufacturing factory. I hadn't ever been into a factory before or worked in an operational team like that. It's a very different life experience that most of you probably can't relate to at this point, but it's a very interesting space for an engineer where there's a lot of machinery and there's product being manufactured constantly, night and day, and there's engineers working to keep that happening. So it was a very rewarding and interesting work experience. And then I went to a different rotation in a mining manufacturing company, which food manufacturing versus mining manufacturing have very different paces. Things are produced for food very quickly, whereas large products that have long lead times are produced in just a different timeline. So I got to work not just in an operational role there, but in a design team where they were developing new products. So as an engineer, you can work in lots of different spheres, which end up giving you different sorts of roles and jobs that you'll be doing. So those roles included a lot of testing of different electronic products and seeing how they operated with customers in the real world. And then the other work experience that I had back at Lion was in a team that worked across the whole company, trying to help them come up with new digital technologies. So it was looking at the business as a whole and what opportunities there were in the business for new projects. So they are some of the things that I have gotten to work on, as well as my thesis project, which if you're doing an engineering degree, you do if you're doing a co-op program, it might be 5 years, but generally you do a 4-year degree, and your 4th year has a big project that you can either do at the moment with a group or you can do individually. And if you want to do that with a industry partner, doing a co-op degree really allows you the connections and the contacts to make that very easy. I found it very rewarding and enjoyable. I'm not personally much of an academic, so having a project that had industry relevance has been very satisfying. It means that my work that I've created is actually used by the engineers at that company and is out in the real world. So that's been a rewarding thing to experience. I can also say that the opportunities you get for work after your degree, if you've been involved with the co-op program, are just endless. The co-op degree gives you a lot of recognition in industry that you have, I guess, got the right experience that prepares you well for the next step. So if you're wanting to come out of your degree with lots of opportunities for work, I think the co-op degree is a great opportunity, and it's something that I, at the moment, am considering what my roles for next year, my role for next year might look like, and the co-op networks have been really useful in getting to know companies and talking about what possibilities there could be. So I'm happy to answer questions on any of that people have, but that's what I would share from my insights.
Great, thank you so much, Claire. I did sort of have a thought around, getting involved before you have to make a decision. So I will plug UNSW's Open Day on the 2nd of September. Have a quick Google. We will have a stall there in the day. So if you do have questions about co-op specific as well, come and have a chat to us. Like Claire also mentioned, so if you come through co-op, you do have the opportunity to complete a 5th year thesis that is sponsored by a co-op industry partner, and like Claire's instance, it doesn't have to be a company that you've done a placement at. So there's lots of opportunities there. I will now pass on to Elise to sort of share her experience.
Thank you very much. So yeah, my name's Elise. I'm similar to Claire, a final year co-op scholar, but I don't do mechatronic. I do chemical engineering. So I thought I'd start by giving a bit of background about why I chose chemical engineering. I've always known that I wanted to do engineering in high school, but I had no idea what branch I was interested in. But I knew that I loved maths, physics and chemistry, and that kind of pushed me to look at what types of engineering existed. I came across chemical, and it's a combination of all of them. So ended up picking chemical engineering. It's a great degree. I would really recommend it. It's a bit of like similar to Claire's, being mechatronics being a degree for if you're not 100% sure about the type of engineering. Chemical engineering is also kind of a jack of all trades, master of none degree. I've worked across food, energy, water, so you're not really boxed into any kind of specific job or role or industry. So that's pretty cool. In terms of my experience with co-op so far, similar to Claire, I've done a few different placements. I've done 2 placements at Sydney Water. So the first was in the odour and corrosion team, where I looked at optimizing the chemical dosing profiles of the chemicals that we dose into our wastewater networks. Not many people think about the sewers. You don't really think about where your waste goes when you flush the toilet, but it's pretty important. So that placement, a bit smelly, but very, very important work and very eye-opening. And my second placement, also very hands-on with wastewater. I was at a wastewater treatment plant, which is actually the largest wastewater treatment plant in the Southern Hemisphere, and can process billions and billions of litres of water a day, which is kind of crazy, the scale of that. During that placement, I was actually responsible for leading a branch of a world first project, looking at finding and eliminating sources of trade waste dumping in the sewers. So that was pretty cool. And the only reason I was able to take part in that project was because I had previous experience with Sydney Water, and that was only made possible through co-op. So that was a pretty great opportunity. And my final placement was at Safe Work New South Wales, where I was a member of the Major Hazard Facilities team, which is responsible for all of the big sites that might blow up around New South Wales. So very important work there, because if something blows up, it's really not good. So that was a great placement as well. Learned lots about safety and what to do and what not to do when you're working. So my thesis, unlike Claire's, is not an industry thesis. I've known from a young age that I'm really interested in engineering, but also been very interested in the climate. So I chose to work with my supervisor on converting ammonia into hydrogen as part of the hydrogen economy, kind of, and looking at using sunlight to reduce the energy requirements for that. So that's pretty cool. And that's going to segue into my PhD next year, which is something I never thought I would do. When I was at high school, the last thing I wanted to do was more study. I wanted to do my degree, get out, get a job. But I think that all of my placements have taught me and shown me the importance of research and innovation. And I think that I want to end up in a career potentially in consulting or in a leadership role. And I think having that PhD will really open a lot of doors. So a complete 180 on where I started, but I think that I don't think I'd be doing a PhD if it wasn't for co-op. So a lot of lessons there. In terms of any general advice for people considering engineering, I would say that, yeah, if you're interested in maths, physics, chemistry, definitely go for it. It's a great option. And co-op is a great program as well, and really strongly recommend applying. Thank you.
Thanks, Elise. One achievement at Safe Work that Elise, I don't know if she still remembers, but Elise actually holds the most number of site visits by a co-op scholar to today. So if you do come through the program and you do chemical engineering and do a placement at Safe Work, that's something for you to try and beat. I will now just do a quick overview of the co-op program. So the co-op program is, for high achieving, well-rounded students who are passionate about pursuing a career in a particular industry. Like we've sort of talked about today, it's offered across a wide range of areas, not just within engineering, but there's also technology and business. We offer students up to 18 months worth of industry experience at 3 sponsors before you graduate, which just opens up a wide range of opportunities like it has for Claire and Elise and a lot of our other co-op scholars. Our big focus is on leadership and professional development training, network opportunities with your peers, but also professionals, and also financial support. So 21,600 per annum over 4 years. And like everything within the co-op program, we do it to make friends, but also just to have a lot of fun along the way. So there's lots of social gatherings, friendships and networks that extend across the university. And our alumni often tell us that these friendships do last a lifetime. And for a lot of our scholars who do go on placements at some of these companies, they'll be surprised at the number of co-op alumni who are working within industry. Applications for 2024 do close on the 30th of September, so please get those submitted. And if you don't already, please follow our Instagram page. We showcase a lot of our scholar experiences and achievements, but also include tips on applications. And also you kind of get a nice little sneak peek into some of the events that we hold throughout the year. Our Q&A box is sort of firing off, so that's great to hear or read in that instance. So I saw a good question before, which I might divert to Claire and Elise. How difficult was it to manage both work placements and study? And did you have any tips for students and their applications?
Wait, is this to Claire or to me? Sorry.
You can kick off.
You can go first, Claire.
Okay. So part one of the question is, how difficult is it to manage studying and doing co-op placements? The beauty of being an engineer who does co-op is you don't have times generally where you're studying and working. You just have times where you're studying and times where you're working. This is like slightly specific to each degree and personal situation, but that has meant for me that the majority of my placements I've done, I've just been working in that time, and the majority of time when I've been studying, I have just been studying. There is still flexibility, and I actually chose to structure my subjects in a way where I did do some subjects while I was working. It is challenging, but most people are coming into the co-op program because they enjoy a challenge. So I'd say don't be shy about that and give it a try. And if it doesn't work for you, change it up. Don't be too stressed at the start about how you'll manage it. Just give it a start and see. So that would be my answer to that question. Elise, do you have any things you want to add to that?
No, that was great.
Do you want to take away the other question?
I would just add that I guess when students are coming through the program and trying to figure out how to balance all of this, you have your peers and your network to lean on, which is a big help, but also the co-op office is also here to support, as always. There was, I think, a question around just the different types of degrees and whether co-op applies to all of them. So I might just answer that one. So that one, I think the example was civil engineering. So in terms of the specializations that we offer, it just depends year on year in terms of sponsors and the streams that are available. If it isn't available, then I would definitely still recommend that you come and study at UNSW. It's a fabulous university for engineering. And there was another question around mechatronics engineering, but yes, it is offered under mechanical engineering. I might divert now to Sarah just to give a quick overview of, I guess you kind of touched on it a bit, but what does your role as a technical manager involve?
Oh yeah, so well, I've actually only been doing this for a month and a half. No, two and a half months. It's flown by. It's very busy, but it's good. I think as technical manager, so what's the difference that I've seen from being within the technical team to now managing the team is that yeah, you're sort of people managing, I suppose, and that was something that I wasn't doing before. So I now, the technical side of things, like I'm signing off people's work and checking things and do things on a higher level. So look at procedures and processes and flag any problems that might be applicable to all our projects. Whereas as a technical analyst in the team, you are assigned projects, so you tend to just work on your project. So that's the technical side of things. And then as a manager, you're also looking after people's well-being, and Reza, yeah, I mean, are very good at that side of things. So they we do try and really care for people's well-being as well as just their job and output. So yeah, just making sure that people are happy with what they're doing, that they've got the right opportunities available to them for where they want their career to go, and that they've had the right training, and then obviously if people have personal issues and things, then that's something you have to deal with as well. So that's what a technical manager role looks like. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. I think we're learning tonight that engineers have a very wide range of skills and responsibilities. And there was a question on here regarding, is there potential for placement within non-engineering organizations within an engineering co-op? And I guess from my experience, a lot of the sponsors are engineering sponsors, but going to student presentations, the range of work that you do in any given team is so wide reaching. I see students who, are doing project management, who have to work with contractors, who work on dashboards. I'm not sure, Claire or Elise, do you have any sort of comments or views or anything extra to add there?
Elise, I'll let you jump in.
You can take it if you want. I don't have too much to add to that.
That's same from me. Sorry for that one. No extra insights.
No, that's all good.
I mean, I can add something in that we actually have a co-op student that's been working with us, and I don't know what, I can't remember exactly. I think she did mechanical engineering, but she was actually placed in our development team, so that's not the engineering team. And in her role, so she's been doing stakeholder engagement, so talking to our landowners, but she's also been then having to talk to New South Wales government, but then she's also come into our team and helped us with some tasks. So she's actually had a really broad range of things, which is something that we try and ensure that people do have, because that helps you sort of decide in your final decision of where you want to go at the end, and whether that job is right for you. So yeah, there are definitely opportunities. Even if you get placed in an engineering company, there are many other roles, and if nothing else, you just get exposed to other people so that you can ask them questions and what about their role, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind talking through what they do and things like that. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And it's something that Kay, mentioned in the business one around, networking and talking to people. You'll find that a lot of people love talking about what they do and, their experience, and they're more than happy to sort of take you on that journey of where they've come. So thanks for that, Sarah. There was a question there for Elise. So what type of work have you undertaken during your placements, and are they more office-based or on-site?
So I've done a wide variety. I think chemical engineering, you're not a big thing I like about engineering is that no 2 days of work are ever the same. So my first placement was unfortunately affected by COVID, so all from home, but we still had a few site visits with social distancing sprinkled in. So that was pretty cool. The second placement was 100% hands-on, out in the field every day, sampling raw wastewater in the high-vis every day. And the third one was a bit of a blend. Got to go on site and see things, but a lot of project work and quite office-based. And my other work at Lion, I was in the analytical team. So hands-on with chemicals all day. So lots of variety, lots of different roles, everything from project management to analyzing the solids content of wastewater. So I hope that answers it.
Great, thanks, Elise. I might pop the next question to Kay, where a student is asking, is it possible to complete double degrees alongside co-op? So for example, mechanical engineering and a master's of biomedical engineering.
Let me answer one question before the other. Is it possible to do double degrees? Yes, a lot of our engineers do double degrees. The thing about a co-op, if you're in a co-op degree, you will spend 5 years at university rather than 4, because of the placements, essentially. So it takes 5 years to do a co-op degree, including the honours year that Claire and Elise are both doing at the moment. But across those 5 years, you also have quite a bit of time to fit in some further study. And as I think Claire said, she actually organised some of her placements so that she did a bit of work as well as her work experience. And so it is possible to do, it's certainly possible to do a double degree. And often a number of our engineers and engineering students do their double degree within their 5 years of co-op. So it's not uncommon to do that. So yes, we are increasingly encouraging students to do double degrees. You have to meet all the requirements of the co-op program. You have to do your placements as per the degree that you sign on for. But we recognise that companies are increasingly looking for breadth in the students that they are taking on. And so, yes, it is possible to do double degrees, and many of our engineering students do.
Thanks, Kate. I might also just add, so when you do come through the co-op program, you do have to enroll into a single degree to accept your scholarship. And then there's sort of a process in place once you complete your first industry placement to have your request considered to complete the double degree. There's a question here around how much choice or input do co-op scholars get in their placements. So in terms of where you do your placements, so that depends on the sponsor companies who are sponsoring that particular year and cohort. So for Claire, it was We Minerals and Lion. And then for Elise, it was Sydney Water and Safe Work. In terms of where you go and when you go, that there's a sort of typical framework that we follow in the program. It does slightly vary depending on streams, but you do get the opportunity to provide preferences, but it's up to the co-op office and your academic coordinator. So there's an academic coordinator for each stream. We make those final decisions. There's a question here for Claire. So how would you say your knowledge from a jack of all trades mechatronics degree compares to that of the more concentrated degrees of mechanical and electrical engineering when working with them?
Yeah, I think I understand the question is probably trying to ask what's the benefit of mechatronics, or what's better to do mechatronics or just mechanical or just electrical, and my answer to that would have to be it depends on the individual. So I think I have met mechanical engineers who are basically as broad as mechatronic engineers because they've just chosen to build their skill sets in software, electrical, as well as the mechanical degree that they're doing. I've met mechatronic engineers who just want to be software engineers and have really not explored the full, breadth of their degree. They've just kind of ticked the boxes that were assigned to them. I've also met electrical engineers who have, that software interest and maybe have combined it with a double degree of electrical and software. So I can't say there is a one answer fits all for that question, but from my personal experience, I do really like to be broad and also to gain the skills required for each of those disciplines. So I think the degree gives you the opportunity to start, and then you have to sort of take the initiative to fill in the blanks, and doing industry placements really help as well to bring in the different perspectives. But I think if you want to work as a mechanical or an electrical engineer, I would recommend taking those degrees, and that will send you off on that path. If you're not sure and you want to keep your options open, doing a mechatronic engineering degree does allow that flexibility. But it also probably means if you want to be a mechanical engineer and you take a mechatronics degree, you're just going to have to put in more of the effort and choose your electives in a way that structure it so that you have those strong mechanical skills as well. And you might have to, when you're in your placements, ask to do mechanical engineering work, which that kind of dovetails off someone else's question, which was how much input do you get to co-op placements? And that it does depend on the companies. There is usually room for input as to what type of work you do within a company. So even if you're not given as much of a choice of the company you're going to, my experience has been that there has been freedom to give input as to what type of work in a company that I was interested in, and that sort of allowed me to specialize on different things. So that would also be just a perspective to share.
Thanks, Claire. There's a few questions here for Sarah, but I might just pick the two that I'm quite curious about. Sarah, the student Ken was just curious to seek your advice about whether to take a wide renewables degree or a directed photovoltaics degree. And then I'll let you answer that and then jump in with the second question.
Yep. So I personally, I would recommend a renewables degree, general, because you can, if you specialize now, like the more you specialize and you get them, you haven't seen the other technology. And in all honesty, like I learned solar on the job. I did study, but it was so long ago that I didn't really remember anything and I did a general degree, so general masters in renewable energy systems technology, so it was like all of the technologies, and I knew enough to understand the solar concepts, which meant that I could then focus in and then on the job learn all the detail. But to be honest, I don't think you're going to learn something in your degree that you'll then really need in your work that you wouldn't get if you just did the renewable general degrees, is my personal opinion. I can't, that is my personal opinion. So there are merits, if you really wanted to definitely do photovoltaics, and I guess that is an avenue to go down, but my personal opinion is to do it general.
Great, thanks, Sarah. And advice for Ken is just to speak to people in both renewables and photovoltaics. If you have the opportunity to come to open day, I'm sure the school will have people that you can chat to and find more information about both areas. Also back to Sarah, what's the key problem with renewables currently that you see the industry working on in the future?
Yeah, okay. So grid is the key problem. Connecting to the grid, we really need the grid updated and upgraded and new lines put in. So there's a few issues with renewables. It's a fluctuating energy, so it needs a very strong grid, And so that's one reason. So you can't have too much fluctuation on the grid. So it needs to be quite robust. And then also renewable energy projects tend to be out in rural areas, and then you need to bring that electricity back into the sort of Sydneys and Melbournes. And that there just aren't grid lines in those areas. So that's a big thing that's going on at the moment with the government building, sort of having chosen areas where they've asked us to build renewables, and then on their side they're going to build a grid line that we can all connect to. So that's the biggest issue at the moment.
Great, thanks, Sarah. There's a question here from Ashan just around software engineering. So for the Co-op program, we have software engineering under our technology streams. So if you did miss out on the session last night, I said at the beginning that these sessions will be recorded and the key slides will be sent. So watch this space for that to come through. We do have 2 minutes, so I might go back to Ken's questions for Sarah, just while we have her on the panel. What is something new in renewables that you've seen in your various roles that you hadn't expected a few years back?
Okay, yeah, and also I can just quickly, the future areas would be offshore wind and green hydrogen, and that was another question on there. So new, I think new technologies has been the thing that's blown my mind. The size of turbines that we're looking at now. So when I started, we were looking at 80-meter rotor diameters, and now they can be like 150 meters. They're absolutely huge, and offshore are even bigger. And floating offshore turbines is something that the technology isn't quite there, but there are prototypes, and it's something that it's just too expensive at the moment, but it will happen. So it's the new technology that is quite incredible when people put their mind to it, what can be achieved.
Great, thank you so much, Sarah. For the questions that we don't get to tonight, we will be sending out just an FAQ document. So if any of your questions didn't get answered, which I think there were maybe a few in there, you'll get a pack from us with all of that. I'm conscious of time, and probably by the time I finish talking, there we go, it's 7 o'clock. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us tonight, but also just to our panelists. If you have any additional questions, please email them through to us or give us a ring. If your application is in draft, get that submitted ASAP. But otherwise, I hoped this session has been informative and helpful. Oh, there goes my lights. So I will end the session there, but thank you everyone for joining tonight.